The following is intended for informational purposes only. It is intended to supplement classroom training and documentation. It should not be relied on as a replacement or substitute for classroom training with a live expert instructor. This workshop uses ProcessFlow to create a custom registration form. This example registration form is for training purposes only. In no way does it replace the existing base registration form. Welcome to this 12th lesson in Config Tools. Here we'll be discussing controlling a business object. We will be showing how you can control a business object through access control, and then only particular user groups have access or rights to do particular actions on a state within a business object. We will then also be looking at creating a to-do to alert a supervisor and to log logs within the business object. And then we will be looking at monitor algorithms. Monitor algorithms have the ability to stop the processing of a business object and wait for specific actions to take place. We will be seeing that you can automatically move the life cycle along on completion, let's say, of a to-do, and also by, let's say, automatically posting the registration form when a time limit has expired. The slide in front of you just summarizes the status at the moment of our registration form. It starts in the pending state, as we know. We have two BO enter points, algorithms, a validate person and a validate address, and they are on the validated state. And as you enter the validated state, first of all, we see whether this person exists in the system. If it does exist, automatically we move the registration form immediately to the active state. If the person isn't created yet, then we check to see whether the address is in the system. If it isn't, we create it, and then we allow a user, and any person user of the system, to actually then click online to create the actual person. So we are going to be changing this lifecycle a little bit to introduce monitor algorithms and other aspects of control of a lifecycle. So first of all, what I would like to do is give an overview, show you how it will look finally once we have completed this this lesson, and how the life cycle is changed, and then we'll go through bit by bit and explain what has been done. So if I go back to the application, and I'm going to now show you the end result. I'm going to create a new process flow, a new registration form. Let me pick a business registration form. But in fact, actually, before I do that, I'm going to cancel, and I'm going to log out and go in with the user like this. And the reason why I've done that will become apparent in a moment. Now, what I'm going to do is go back, create a new registration form. Give it name, call it Corner Store. I don't even have to give it an address if I don't want to. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Make it very simple, and now I've created the business registration form, and now it's in the status of pending, no different than we've had previously, and this has always been like this. Now I'm going to validate this registration form, and you will see now that I've added, there's a new state called ready to post. But interesting thing is, I have no ability now to go onwards. If I want to now create this particular person, this business, I am unable to do it because I have no actions here. So what I have, what I've created, is a life cycle such that there could be users who have the ability to actually do certain actions like check and move this registration form from pending to ready to post, but the final action of activating the registration form could be done only by someone else. So in fact, this is the case here, that this particular user, and it's the reason again why I changed to user 00, has no rights to actually move this registration form to the final state. If I actually log out, before I log out, let me just pick up this process flow ID. Let me go in now with my own personal user who has access rights to that state, and I will show you in a moment how I create these access rights. So now I'm going back in, and now I'm going to find the same process flow, same registration form as previously. And you'll see here that for this user, I have the access rights allow this particular user to be able to activate the process flow, this registration form. So I'm logged in with my personal user. The user here, by the way, is just stated as the old user, the one who actually initiated the registration form, and we could update our logic that when we activate under a different user, this user will be updated. We haven't actually done that, but that's a separate thing. But what we see now that we can activate. Now the interesting thing is that what we've done also, in order to inform the users that there is a registration form that needs to be activated, at the point of when we checked, we did the validation, we created, and this is something else new that we did, we created a to-do. Okay, a to-do was created, and you can, from the log, there is a log entry in the process flow which points to the to-do, and the to-do has a message saying this particular registration form is waiting for approval, and this my own user under my own to-do type has the ability to could get as they log in to look at the to-do summary, can pick up this particular to-do, go to this to-do over here, see the message, and then click on the message, which will then take them to the actual process flow, and then they can continue their way and activate the registration form. Now, once you've activated the registration form, it is here now that you will create the registration. You will create, the actual person, in this case, the corner store person entity. So if I click on activate now, it comes out with a warning because I have not created any address information, but that's fine. I don't want any address information. I create it, and now I've created my user. I have the person created. The interesting thing also is that in the log, if you go to the actual to-do, it says completed. So in fact, even though I didn't complete the to-do directly from this screen, when I completed the registration form, it automatically completed it here. Okay, so this is the new flow that I have introduced, and there's a few different aspects that I have added in to the process flow lifecycle, and that's the place for us to start to see the changes that we have made. So let me go back to the process flow. Let me go to the BO. And if I go to the life cycle, let's see the few things I've added in. First of all, there's a new state. I've added in a new state called ready to post. And that is in order to make things simpler and more intuitive to the user about the different statuses that this registration form is going through. In fact, I could have implemented all the logic that I have here, I will show you now, without actually creating a new status. Status really was added in order to simplify and to separate out the different algorithm spots, the algorithms, easier and more intuitively. In the first change I made is in the validated state. I made this a status condition in interim. Sorry, I don't mean that one. I mean the transitory state I set to be yes. The difference between a transitory state yes or no basically comes down to whether you can have a particular instance of the business object of this particular process flow in this state. Can it remain in this state, or does it just simply pass through the state? By making it a transitory state, it means that you can never actually have this particular registration form sitting in the validated state. Either it will go on to the ready to post, or it will go back to pending, but it can't remain in the validated state. That's one of the things I changed. Again, it wasn't 100% necessary to do that in terms of the changes that I made. In the ready to post, I have there was one other change in the validated that I didn't point at, and that is I've added in a new system event monitor algorithm, which is a base script which transitions the registration form to the next status. So let's have a look what that means. As we know, we have a check person existence BO enter algorithm, and if in fact that person does not exist, then it goes on and creates the address. And what actually we did until now was leave the registration form in the validated state. But here, since we've added in a ready to post state, I need something to move it on after the check address existence to the next state. So a monitor algorithm runs after the enter algorithms, and they will always run afterwards, and they will not only run immediately after the enter algorithms, but they will also run and be triggered by a batch process as well. And that's the whole purpose, that you can sense changes. If there are changes in the state related to different changes in the system, it can then move on to a new state, and and therefore interacts with the batch, the monitor programs. It also, as I just mentioned before, not only does it run by when the batch runs, but also runs immediately after the enter algorithm. That's always true unless in one case, unless you put a monitor process here. If you set a monitor process there, it means that you will not have a monitor algorithm running immediately after the enter. It will only run once the monitor process runs. But if you don't set it, it basically means it will run after the enter algorithms, as well as by running the batch program. The batch program, by the way, is set on the maintenance object, and it happens to be whatever we find under here. This process flow monitor, which we'll use later on, we will use it to run the monitor, to kick in the monitor algorithm. So that's the first change that we've made. We've added in the monitor algorithm to transition the registration form from the validated state to the next state, to default next status, and the default next status has been set. This has also been updated to the ready to post state. So that's the first thing that we have changed. Now, in the ready to post state, we have added in a enter algorithm. All these algorithms here are new since we didn't have this state previously. And what does it do? It creates the to-do that we saw, and it also creates the log. Okay. If I have a look for a moment at the actual code of the script, you will see that we read the registration form, followed by the registration form type, And one thing I didn't show you, and I'll show it to you now, is that the one other change that we made was that on the registration form type, we added a couple more configuration points, and that is we added in an approval to do. We added this section in, and this section in is used in order to pick up what to do type and role to use in order to check and to create the to do. Okay, and now in this code, in the script which creates the to do and the log, first of all we read the registration form and the type. And the first thing we do is to check to see that there are no existing to-do types on the registration form. So we pick up the to-do type from the registration form type. And if there are no actual to-dos on the registration form, then we create the to-do and we add in the sort key and the drill key, and pick up the to-do and the to-do role from the registration form type. We also have, as we saw, there was a message on the to-do, and that we use with a message category and number. And we have a parameter here as well in the message itself, so the actual the registration form ID comes up. The drill key, obviously, mentioned that before, but the drill key is used in order to go directly from the message to the registration form. And then we add in the to-do on the registration form, and it has all the information here which describes what you need to fill in. And we're using here some standard business services. This one to retrieve all active to-dos, and we have here a business service to add a log. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to point out on the BO, and go back now to the BO of the parent registration form. Again, notice that the changes to the life cycle are done on the parent, not on the child ones, and it affects obviously the child as well. So that's this first enter algorithm. And we also have here a monitor algorithm. And what does this do? This is used to check to see whether the to-do is complete. The example I gave to you earlier was one when I changed user. I saw the to-do. I went to the registration form and I clicked activate. There is another way that this registration form can be completed, and that is if in fact the to-do is directly completed and then the monitor program is kicked in by running the batch. And now let me show you what I mean by showing you another example and how that will work. And then we'll look at the code for that monitor script. So what do I mean? Let me go back to and create now a new registration form. Again, I'm running this now. Let me log out, because again, let's go through the whole system example by going back to the user who doesn't have access to the activate state. So let me create now a new registration form. Take an individual one. Again, I'm going to not create a country. A completely random name chosen. And now I'm going to pick up, oh, the status is pending, so let me validate first. The validation creates my, doesn't create anything. It moves it though to the ready to post, creates my log for me. Right, the to-do is added. I'm going to now log out and come in with my individual user, my personal user. If now I see I have the activate button, but what I want to show you now is a different method to complete the registration form, and that is, let's say that instead of the user, in this case myself, going to the registration form, simply goes to the to-do and completes the to-do. It doesn't click on message here and moves it to activate this way, but it simply says, okay, I would like this particular registration form to be approved, and I complete it. Now, the point of having that monitor algorithm that we saw on the BO is to monitor this particular state of, if I go back now to the process, to monitor the state of ready to post. And what it can do is say, let us check, whenever I run the batch, the process flow monitor batch, check to see whether the to-do is complete. And if the to-do is complete, then let's move it automatically to the final state. Okay, instead of actually clicking activate, but rather have the batch, the process flow monitor, do the work. So let's simulate that by actually creating, by going to the batch program. And we know it's something called process flow monitor, I think. And now what I can do is go to create online a new job. Let me just save that. It should take a couple of seconds for this to run. And we will now have a look, if we go back to our process flow, that it's automatically set at active. And it was the process flow program, the monitor program, which we just saw, which was responsible for doing that work. Okay, so let's just go, if we go to the run tree for a moment, it actually comes up with that message that we saw if we had done it online, that there's no address. But nonetheless, it creates the person entity OK, and that's the work which was done by the monitor algorithm. So now let's go back to the life cycle on the ready to post. And this is the monitor algorithm. The monitor algorithm is triggered when we ran that batch program. Okay, that's the difference between the monitor and an enter. The monitor ran even before the actual monitor program, before the batch program ran. But at that state, when it was initially created, there was a to-do. And the to-do was not completed yet, so therefore it remained in that state. However, subsequently we completed the to-do, and then when the monitor program ran, it moved it to the next state. Let's have a look at the code. So in this case, we read the registration form and the form BO and the registration form type BO. We retrieve the to-do and check to see that if there are no active to-dos. And if there are no active to-dos, we've moved true to the use default next status. And that is the work which was done when the batch ran. There were no active to-dos since we had completed them, and therefore this line was reached, and therefore the true was set for the use default next status. Important to note that for a monitor program, it's not necessary to actually update the BO. All you need to do is to set the output parameters to true. This is actually different than an enter algorithm where it's necessary to update the BO directly yourself. But for a monitor, all you need to do is set the hard output parameters, and then it will automatically go to the next state. Happens to be I've also added a little extra code here at the end, and this code is another way that this registration form can move to the next state, and that is that we check to see how many days since the actual creation of the registration form, and if more than 30 days have passed, then even if no one has activated directly, or even if the to-do has not been completed, nonetheless the next status is reached, and we move the registration form to the active state, and the person will be created. And that is done by using some XPath code. First of all, I pick out just the creation date, except without the time, and then I do a comparison of dates between the process date, the initial date of the registration form when it was created, to the actual the create date, which is the date it was created, to the date at currently, which is using the process date. And if it's greater than 30 days, then we move it to the next status. So that's actually a third way that this registration form can be completed. Okay, so if I go back now to the BO, you will see that I have again the monitor algorithm. I also have an exit algorithm. This exit algorithm is used to complete the to-do automatically, and this is used in a case when I online hit the activate button. That's the example I showed you, the first way of completing the registration form, and then we check on exit to make sure that if there is an incomplete to-do, it will be completed. So sometimes it's completed, the to-do is completed directly, and in that case nothing will happen when it reaches this exit. Sometimes it's not completed, and then the system on exit here will complete for you. So that's the changes that were made on the ready to post state. The last thing on the active state what I would like to show you is that we've added in something called an access mode, and I've added in a new access mode called activate. All the other states, if you have a look, are access mode inquire, and everyone has rights to access mode inquire, and that's why my user initially, user 00, had rights and access to be able to validate this registration form. However, if we actually look at the access mode activate, we will see that the initial user, the user 00, did not have access to that, didn't have access rights, and as a result of that, the button was not shown. If I actually show you where in fact do we set the access modes, the access modes come from the application service, and if I go to the application service, I see that I've added in a custom, a CM activate, and if I look at the security, you will see that all services demo, which is a user group which includes the user 00 and all the users that we use for demo, has add, change, delete, and inquire. So they have access rights to all those, but they do not have the fifth one, which you see, all services, which has activate as well. All services is a user group which my own personal users included, and that's why when I logged out and logged in with my own personal user, since I have rights, since I have access mode activate is given to me, I have access to this mode activate. Therefore, I was able to actually see the button activate, and therefore I was able to do that. I could see the button. However, under my user 00, I was unable to see the button since I didn't have activate in my access modes. I hope that's clear. Okay, so to summarize the things that I've changed in this lesson, I am showing you this particular slide. Again, a registration form starts in the pending state, and there are two enter algorithms: a validate person and validate address. And in green, I show you the monitor algorithms, the algorithm which runs after the enter, which will transition the pending, the registration form which is in a pending state, to the next state, which is the validated state. Okay. Previously, we didn't have this auto transition monitor algorithm because it remained in the validated state. But now, as you see in the dotted box, validated is now an interim state. It doesn't have, it cannot remain in that particular state of validated, and that's why it is shown in the dotted line. Just going back for 1 second to show you, to remind you of that. In the validated state, that it's a transitory, non-interim state condition. It's a transitory state. Since if it's a transitory state, I've showed it to you in the dotted line. And it moves on from to the validated immediately without needing to do anything, because it is a it's a transitional state. It will go to the next state, which is ready for posting. On entry, we create a to-do. And we've shown you the code to create the to-do, and it creates the to-do, and also it creates a log on the registration form. And then we added in another monitor algorithm. The monitor algorithm checks to see if the to-do is complete. And if the to-do is complete, it moves it to the active state. Or if 30 days, in the example I added, if a certain amount of days have gone past, it will also move on the registration form to the next state. On exit, the third type of algorithm that you can have on a status, we have a complete to-do, and if the to-dos were not completed, it will be completed after exiting the ready for posting. Now, if you're in the ready for posting state and it has not automatically go to the next state, then you will see the button activate, and that's only if you have write access, if your access mode allows you to have the activate access mode, and that's controlled, as we saw, by the application services. And then we have, finally, as it enters the active state, the create person that we had previously. So we didn't actually have to make any changes to the validate person, validate address, and the create person that we had. If you remember, we had these three algorithms previously to this lesson, and they remain there. What we've added in is this auto transition, which is a base algorithm, and there's also a base one to complete a to-do, and we've added these two new ones to create the to-do and the log, and to monitor the to-do. Okay, so this is the added work that we have done in order to make our registration form more controllable by different groups of people, to be able to create the person only if you have the right access rights, if you have a to-do that is sent to your particular group of users, then you have the ability to complete and to actually activate the person. And we have made that clearer by adding in this ready for posting state. So what have we learned in this lesson? We have shown how you can control a BO using access modes. We have shown how you can create a to-do within the code and add a registration log. And we have shown how we work with BO monitor algorithms, and all these are collected together techniques under the heading of controlling a BO so that we can have ability to have exact control over the life cycle of our business object.